He married her for love, not knowing she was an alien billionaire in hiding. The sun burned hot over the desert planet of Vera 9. Wind carried sharp dust through the scrapyard, rattling old metal parts and half-dead machines. Most people had already gone inside to hide from the heat, but one man still worked under the open sky. His name was Jack Carter. Jack was a human, a mechanic, quiet, strong, and kind. He lived alone and repaired old tech for traders and miners who passed through the small outpost. Life was slow. Every day felt the same. Until today. As Jack walked past a broken shuttle at the edge of the yard, something strange caught his eye. At first, he thought it was a bundle of cloth, but then it moved. He ran closer and saw her, a girl, lying half-buried in the sand. Her skin was pale blue, her hair was long and silver, her clothes were torn and her feet were bare. She was not human. Jack knelt beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" Her lips moved, but her voice was weak. Just one word came out, barely a whisper: "Help." Without thinking, Jack picked her up. She was light as air. He carried her inside his small home behind the yard and laid her gently on the cot. For hours, she didn't wake. He gave her water, he cleaned the dust from her face. Her body was marked with thin, glowing lines like natural tattoos. Alien tech, Jack couldn't tell. When she finally opened her eyes, they were a glowing violet. "Where am I?" she asked softly. Jack smiled kindly. "You're safe now. My name is Jack. What's yours?" She blinked slowly, confused. I don't know." Days passed. The alien girl couldn't remember her name, where she came from, or why she was alone in the desert. Jack called her Leah, short, soft, simple. Leah stayed with Jack and helped him in the scrapyard. She learned quickly, as if machines spoke to her in a language only she understood. She fixed things Jack thought were beyond repair. Old tech turned on when she touched it. Rusted drones followed her around like pets. "Are you some kind of tech mage?" Jack joked once. Leah only smiled. "I just feel the machines." She didn't know how, it just happened. The townspeople were suspicious. "She's an escaped servant," one man said. "Probably got dumped by a smuggler," said another. "She'll bring trouble," the shopkeeper warned Jack. But Jack didn't care. He liked the way Leah laughed when she heard music. He liked the way her eyes lit up when she learned something new. And Leah, she felt safe with Jack. No one had ever treated her like this before. Not like a tool or a strange alien, but like a person. But not everything was peaceful. One night, Jack woke up to a strange sound, soft whispers, like static in the air. He followed the sound to the workshop. There, Leah stood in the dark, her eyes glowing brighter than usual. Her hands floated over an old device, one Jack had never gotten to work. It lit up under her touch, humming with energy. She was talking in a language Jack couldn't understand. Then suddenly, silence. She turned and saw him. I didn't mean to," she said, looking scared. "It's okay," Jack said gently. "I was just surprised." She looked down, ashamed. "Sometimes things come to me, words, feelings, like memories, but broken." Jack stepped closer. "Maybe you're remembering your past." "Maybe," she whispered. "But what if I don't like who I was?" Jack looked into her glowing eyes and said, "I like who you are now." But far above the planet, a signal had been sent. A forgotten code, a sleeping tracker. And in the darkness of space, someone had just noticed it was active again. To be continued. Next, Part 2, A Life in the Dust. Weeks passed on the dusty planet of Vera 9. Leah and Jack now worked side by side in the scrapyard. Every morning, the sun rose over the junk piles, and every evening it set behind glowing mountains of rusted machines. For Jack, life finally had meaning. And for Leah, it felt like she was building something real for the first time in her life. Leah fixed things Jack couldn't understand. She repaired old mining bots, opened locked tech without tools, and once even restarted a broken weather shield just by touching it. "She's like magic," people whispered. Jack didn't mind the talk, but he noticed Leah always got quiet when someone stared at her too long. She didn't like attention. Inside their home, things were different. Leah cooked strange, alien meals using human ingredients. She laughed at old Earth movies, but didn't understand why people danced. Jack taught her card games, and she taught him how to track stars with her fingers in the sky. They weren't just friends anymore. They were something more. But neither of them said it out loud. One night, Jack woke to the sound of humming. He walked into the shop and found Leah sitting alone. In her hands was a small glowing orb, something she had pulled from the junk earlier that day. It floated above her palm, spinning slowly, whispering in a soft alien voice. Jack stepped closer. "What is it?" Leah looked up. "I don't know, but it feels familiar." Her hands trembled. "It keeps calling me a name, Princess Aliraya." Jack froze. "Princess?" She nodded slowly. "It says I am lost, that I must return to the core worlds, that I'm heir to something." Jack didn't know what to say. Was it true? Could the girl he found in rags be royalty? Leah looked scared. "I don't want that life. I don't even remember it." Later that week, something strange happened. A tall man in dark robes came into the scrapyard. He didn't talk much, only asked questions. "Any new arrivals? Is any odd tech in the area? Anyone glowing?" Jack kept quiet, so did Leah, but the man's eyes felt cold, like he could see into her thoughts. After he left, Leah whispered, "He was like me, but different, cold, controlled." They both knew then someone was looking for her. That night, Leah packed a small bag. "I should go," she told Jack. "It's not safe for you if I stay." Jack took her hand. "You're not going anywhere alone." "But—" "No," he said firmly. "We started this life together. We'll face whatever's coming together." Leah's eyes shimmered, not with fear, but with something warmer. "Trust." The next morning, the stars above Vera 9 shimmered unnaturally. Satellites blinked. Long-range scanners pinged. Something was coming. And Leah knew. The quiet life in the dust was ending. The sky above Vera 9 had never been so quiet. It was the kind of silence that made animals hide and machines pause. A strange stillness spread across the scrapyard, like the planet was holding its breath. Jack stood on the roof of his small home, watching the sky with narrowed eyes. Leah stood beside him. Her silver hair caught the wind, her eyes worried. "I feel something," she said softly, "like I've felt it before." A sound cracked across the sky, boom. A ship appeared from the clouds, sleek, black, silent. It didn't belong to any local traders or miners. No markings, no signal. It hovered above the desert, then slowly descended just outside the town border. Jack and Leah looked at each other. Trouble had arrived. By afternoon, the town's people gathered in fear. The mayor, a nervous man with too many rings on his fingers, tried to speak with the visitors. Four beings stepped out of the ship. Tall, gold-armored, their faces were hidden behind masks that glowed faint blue. Each of them carried a staff that hummed with quiet energy. They said they were from the house of Sondar. They said they were searching for someone very important. "We seek a missing heir," one of them said, voice smooth like metal. "She is of royal blood. She was lost years ago, but recently we received a signal." They showed a hologram. It was her. Leah. Same glowing eyes, same silver hair. The crowd gasped. Jack froze. Leah's hands trembled behind the workbench where she was hiding. "They will take me," she whispered to Jack later. "Not because they care, but because they want power. If they find me, I'll be used." Jack looked at her, heart pounding. "Do you remember them?" "No, but I know what they are. I can feel it in my blood." She backed away, shaking her head. "I'm not ready for that life." Later that night, the leader of the alien group entered Jack's yard. He was alone, calm but dangerous. "You have something that does not belong to you," he said coldly. Jack stayed firm. "She's not a thing and she's not yours." The alien tilted his head. "You don't know what she is, human. She carries a key that can change galaxies. Do you really think hiding her here in this pile of dust will keep her safe?" Jack clenched his fists. "She's not hiding, she's healing." The alien smirked behind his mask. "We'll be watching." He turned and vanished into the night. Inside, Leah sat quietly on the floor. In her hand was the small orb again, the one that whispered. But now it showed her images. A crown, a throne, a burning palace, a woman, her mother, crying out as soldiers dragged Leah away. And then silence. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I was never supposed to remember," she whispered. "But now I do. I was hidden for my own safety. My people betrayed my family. They want to use me as a puppet queen." Jack sat beside her. "What will you do now?" Leah looked up, voice firm. "I'll choose my own path." But outside, in the black ship above the town, a message was sent. One word. Confirmed. The princess lives. The morning after the strangers arrived, the town of Vera 9 felt colder. Jack and Leah didn't speak much. They just worked, repairing machines, sorting scrap, trying to pretend things were normal. But nothing was normal anymore. The hologram had changed everything. Now the galaxy knew Princess Aliraya lived. And she was no longer safe. Later that day, an old scavenger came by the yard, Milo, an ex-smuggler with half a face made of wires and a memory full of secrets. He looked at Leah with wide eyes. "I've seen you before," he whispered. Jack stepped in. "Back off, Milo." But Milo just smiled. "Not here, on another world, years ago, a secret place." Leah's voice was soft. "Where?" "The vaults of Ashtara," Milo said. "Hidden in the caves beneath the salt cliffs. Only high bloods ever went there, and those trusted with royal memory." Jack and Leah looked at each other. If Leah wanted answers, real answers, this might be her only chance. That night they packed supplies. Jack loaded his rover with water, tools, and one old blaster that barely worked. Leah brought the glowing orb. They left before sunrise, racing across the red dunes as dust storms gathered behind them. The salt cliffs rose like broken teeth from the desert. Below them, a narrow tunnel. Dark, cold, silent. They walked for hours. Inside the caves, strange blue crystals pulsed from the walls. The deeper they went, the more Leah began to feel it, a pulling sensation in her chest. Like something was waiting. Finally, they reached a massive stone door. Symbols danced across its surface, shifting like liquid light. Leah stepped forward. The orb in her hand floated into the air and clicked softly. The door groaned, then slowly opened. Inside was a circular room with smooth black walls. No dust, no time. In the center, a glowing table. Leah approached it. The table lit up, scanning her body, reading her DNA, matching her soul to something ancient. A deep, calm voice echoed through the chamber. "Welcome back, Alirayer of House Vaylin. Memory access granted." Holograms filled the room. Cities floating in space. Starships with golden wings. A woman who looked like Leah, older, wiser, her mother. Leah stood frozen. The archive showed her a life she had forgotten. Her birth under two sons, her parents ruling a peaceful empire, the betrayal, a rival house attacking under false friendship, the escape plan. Her mother had hidden her on Vera 9, wiped her memory to protect her, and sent a signal only the right DNA could unlock. "You were never meant to be a queen of war," the archive whispered, "but of peace." Jack stood silently, watching Leah. He saw the pain in her eyes, the weight she now carried. "I don't know if I can be this person," Leah whispered. "You already are," Jack said softly. "Not because of your blood, but because of your choices." Leah looked at him, really looked. And in that moment, she didn't feel lost anymore. But deep beneath the archive, something stirred. A quiet alarm blinked red. The Solndar had found them. And they were coming. Vast. The alarm echoed through the crystal caves. Soft at first, then louder, faster, urgent. Red lights flashed across the archive walls. Leah's glowing orb dimmed, as if hiding from something. The holograms vanished. Jack looked at Leah. "They found us." Leah nodded, her voice calm but serious. "We have to leave now." Outside the cave, the wind howled. A storm was rolling in thick dust, rising over the horizon. But the real danger wasn't the storm. It was the ship above them. The Solndar were here. A dark cruiser hovered just above the cliffs. Its engines barely made a sound, but its presence was heavy, like a shadow watching everything. 3 armored hunters dropped from the ship, landing silently in the sand. Each one held a glowing staff. And they were moving fast. Jack and Leah jumped into the rover. The engine coughed to life. The wheels spun on the loose sand. Behind them, the hunters began to run, faster than any human could. "They're not going to stop," Jack shouted. "I know," Leah replied, gripping the orb tightly. "But I remember something now." She reached under the seat and pulled out a small panel, hidden tech they had found in the scrapyard months ago. At the time, it looked useless. Now it clicked perfectly into the rover's dash. Lights blinked, the engine roared. The rover changed slightly. Faster, stronger. "Royal override activated," a soft voice said. Jack grinned. "You've been holding out on me." Leah smiled back, even in the middle of danger. "I didn't know until now." They blasted forward across the dunes, sand flying behind them in waves. But the hunters followed. On foot. and they were catching up. Suddenly, one of the staff weapons fired. A bolt of blue energy sizzled past the rover, hitting a rock and turning it to dust. Jack swerved hard. We can't outrun them forever. I'm not trying to, Leah said. She opened the orb again. A small map flickered in the air, showing a hidden path. A canyon, she pointed. If we get inside, we can lose them. Jack turned the wheel sharply. The rover bounced across rocky ground, taking a hard turn into the canyon walls. The space narrowed, echoes followed them. But the hunters were still behind them, now on small hovercrafts, engines whispering like wind. One fired again. The shot grazed the rover's side. Metal sparked, a tire shredded. We're hit. Leah didn't wait. She stood up in the open top seat and lifted the orb high. The canyon around them began to glow. Ancient markings lit up on the rock walls. Then, without warning, the canyon shook. Boom! Stone fell from the sides, a rock slide triggered by the orb's signal. The entrance collapsed just as the hunters entered. Dust covered everything. Silence. Jack and Leah sat still for a moment. No more chasing. No more hunters. Just their heavy breathing and the hum of the engine. Jack looked at her. What was that? Leah looked at the orb. A memory. The canyon is old royal land. It listened to me. Jack laughed softly. Remind me never to make you mad. They continued through the canyon in silence, knowing this was only a short win. But now something had changed in Leah. She was no longer just running. She was remembering who she really was. Not a princess, a fighter, a survivor, maybe even a queen. The canyon opened into a hidden valley. Quiet, safe for now. Jack parked the rover beneath a large stone arch covered in glowing moss. Above them, stars were beginning to blink in the sky. Leah stepped out. Her eyes scanned the horizon, but her mind was far away. Something inside her had changed. I'm not the same girl who fell from the sky, she said softly. I remember too much now. Jack sat on a rock nearby, wiping dust from his face. You were never just that girl, Leah, he said, even before the truth. She looked at him, tired, unsure, but stronger than ever. No crown, no guards, no palace, but the Solndar still fear me, she whispered. Why? As if answering, the orb activated again, on its own. A hologram appeared, flickering. It was her mother, Queen Valentra. In the message, the queen looked serious, her voice calm but strong. If you are seeing this, daughter, it means our world has fallen, but you have survived, and with survival comes power. The crown is not on your head. It is in your heart. You were never meant to rule by name, but by choice. Find the ones who still believe. They will follow you even without a throne. The message ended. Leah stood still. Then she spoke, not to Jack, not to herself, but to the sky. I won't run anymore. Jack smiled slowly. So what's the plan? They traveled to the old comms tower deep in the valley. Once used by miners, now abandoned. Leah activated it using her royal code. She sent a signal, not to the Solndar, but to the outer systems. A secret message. One word. Alive. The signal reached far. It passed through pirate hubs, through rogue satellites, through broken stations once loyal to House Valen. And it reached them, the old royal guard scattered but waiting. Meanwhile, aboard the Sondar ship, alarms flashed. A commander watched the signal path. "She's calling for support," he growled. Another officer stepped forward. "Should we intercept it?" The commander stared at the screen. "No, let her gather her little followers. Let her believe she has hope." He smiled behind his mask. "Then we crush her." Back on Vera 9, as the sun rose, a figure approached the canyon. Wrapped in a faded cloak, carrying a strange staff, the figure walked with purpose. Jack noticed first. He raised his blaster. "Stop right there." The figure lowered their hood. An alien woman with golden skin and eyes like mirrors. "I received the signal," she said. "If you are truly Aliraya, then I am here to serve." Leah stepped forward. More figures appeared behind the woman, 5, then 10, then dozens. Former soldiers, refugees, technicians. All loyal to the crown. By nightfall, fires burned across the camp. Tents were raised, old weapons cleaned. They were not an army. Not yet. But they were ready. And at the center of it all stood Leah. No crown, no armor, no royal banner. Just her name. And the will to rise. The morning sun broke through the thick clouds, casting light on the valley. Leah stood at the edge of the camp, staring at the horizon. The wind whispered across the barren land, carrying the scent of change. Today, everything would change. Leah had spent the night planning, speaking with her new allies, organizing them into small groups. The signal she'd sent had worked. The old royal guard was coming to her side, bringing weapons, ships, and knowledge from the old days. But they were still outnumbered, still outclassed. The Sondar had no idea how many were coming for them. But they would soon. Jack approached, a map in his hands. "You've been quiet this morning," he said, his voice low. "What's going on in your head?" Leah didn't answer at first. Then she turned to face him. "I've spent my life running," she said. "First from the Sondar, then from myself, but no more. I know what I have to do." Jack nodded. "And I'm with you, we all are." Leah smiled, her eyes brightening. "We'll make them feel the weight of every life they've stolen. The galaxy will see the rise of the true heir to House Valen." The sky grew darker as the signal from the Sondar ship reached them. It was not a warning, it was a challenge. The Sondar were ready for war. They wanted to crush her spirit before she could rise. But they didn't know Leah. The Royal Guard had arrived. Hundreds of ships hovered above the canyon. They were sleek, silent, and old weapons and shields from an ancient time. Each ship carried men and women who once stood beside her mother, the late Queen Valantra. Now they stood with Leah. It was time. Leah stepped forward. Her people were ready. Her destiny was clear. She didn't need a crown. She didn't need a throne. She needed only her voice and her will. "To the skis," she called. "We rise today not as rulers of a fallen empire, but as fighters for a future. The Sondar will fall, and with them their empire of oppression. We stand for freedom, for justice, for every soul they have ever destroyed." The crowd erupted in cheers. The ships began to move. The battle began as the Sondar cruiser descended, its cannons charging, glowing with power. But the Royal Guard was ready. Ships lit up in bright blue, silver beams cutting through the darkening sky. Jack and Leah's ship lifted from the ground shaking beneath them. They flew straight into the heart of the battle. But Leah wasn't afraid. In the chaos of battle, Leah took the controls herself. Her hands gripped the helm, steady and sure. She knew what she had to do. "Focus on the cruiser," she shouted to the crew. The ships of the Royal Guard surrounded the Solndar ship, firing lasers and missiles. The sky lit up with explosions, sparks flying. The cruiser was taking damage, but it wasn't defeated yet. Leah had one final move. She activated the ancient Starbreaker cannon, a weapon from her mother's time. A beam of concentrated energy surged from the ship's center, cutting through the darkness. It hit the Solndar cruiser, tearing through its shields. The ship shook. It screamed. And then, in a final, brilliant explosion, it collapsed. Silence filled the air. Leah's heart pounded as she looked at the remains of the cruiser in the distance. The battle was over. The Solndar had fallen. But Leah's victory wasn't just about the fight. It was about what she had become. As the surviving Solndar ships retreated, Leah turned to her crew. "We've won, but this is only the beginning." The Royal Guard cheered, their victory now sealed. Jack stood beside her, a proud grin on his face. "You did it. The crownless queen became the ruler of the stars." Leah smiled. "I never needed a crown, I needed a reason to fight." The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter. The weight of her past had lifted. Now she wasn't just Aliraia of House Valen. She was a queen by choice, a leader by heart. And in that moment she realized the throne was never a symbol of power. It was the strength of the people who believed in her. The end.